April 8th, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. There's no economic data that came out today to really move the markets. And overall, as you can see here, prices kind of stayed within I would say about a 20-point range. But within that 20-point range, it pretty much stayed after a few swings. It stayed within a very tight uh, probably like 7-point range. There's like a tight consolidation here, tight consolidation here, tight consolidation, a very small kind of sell-off here, very gradual, and some spikes. So overall price action was a little slower today because the volume was also pretty low, but I was managed to get one trade, and there were a couple of trades I think were possible trades that I should have jumped on, but I, for one reason or another, didn't take them. And a pretty decent setup that came late in the day, and I think by then I wasn't quite paying attention as well. So that's an unfortunate miss. I'm going to go into the trading right now. So the pre-market, it's kind of choppy. It looks like it's in. So when I see this pre-market highs right here, so the market hasn't opened yet, and the pre-market low, I thought it looked like it's in a trading range because this is technically the high of the pre-market, but I like that they created a double top here, so I called this the high of the pre-market, keeping in mind that potentially there could be some kind of resistance or some kind of reaction up here, but this one seemed to fit pretty well. And then the lows of the pre-market, I was debating putting it either right here where my cursor is or even lower. If I put it right here, I would have treated this as a failed breakout. But for the time being, I guess kind of put it way down here, keeping in mind there could be the range bottom right here. So then prices in the pre-market kind of shot up, no economic data, create a new high. Well, not a new high, but localized high, first entry long. And then you technically get a second entry long here, but this isn't a very good signal bar. You do have a new low here. It's a first entry short, pull back, and this actually creates a second entry short. This happened rather quickly. So what happened is it creates a new low here, creates a first entry short, pull back, it pushes up and comes back down. Although it made a double bottom right here, this is a second entry short, and I thought maybe a possible trade. I saw it in real time, but I kind of second guessed it. I did draw this as a down channel. This orange down channel had 1, 2, 3 confirmations, technically the third one here. So I thought it was 3 confirmations as a potential orange down channel. The EMA is a little bit flat, but it is acting as a resistance here. It did have a violation here, but it kind of pushed back down. And the thing I did like about this particular potential setup is it ticked one tick up and then it flushed down strongly. Now, what would have definitely had me get a trade ready, excuse me, is if this, although it ticked up once, it also closed one tick below here, at least one tick, then I would have had a very clean first entry short, pullback, second entry short, and then there is just barely enough room to get out before you hit this low. So that did cause me to hesitate. Now, if these lows were a little bit more down here to ensure I had a clean exit, then I think I definitely would have taken a trade. So it looks like if you entered here, you'd have to sit through these two candles and then likely get your quick scalp right here. Prices move down. It looks like it's obeying and following inside this channel pretty well. So it's bouncing up and down. And I'm thinking inside this bigger price action is potentially a range right here. So in first entry short, you don't get a second entry short till right here, but it's above the EMA. EMA is, it was trending lower and now it's kind of flattening out. So it's a little confusing whether you need to give, I guess, respect to the EMA at this point or not. And I wasn't too sure. And this wasn't a very good signal bar anyway, so I wouldn't have gotten ready for a short trade. The new high, first entry long. Technically, I have a second entry long here. It's a bad signal bar though. And I don't think that I'm in a range yet when I see this. I drew this blue trading range a little bit later. So it comes up, it bumps twice. And here I do draw this as a potential resistance. Comes down, and then this is when I drew it as a range. So I saw, okay, maybe there's a triple test. One attempt down, second attempt down, maybe a third attempt down. I saw this as a new high. So even though you're in a trading range, you should be trading range rules, but I wasn't 100% certain I was in a range yet, so I was still looking for second entry. So I had first entry, new high, first entry long pullback. This is about to create a second entry long potential. and this is acting as a potential support. So this could still just be a second entry long with a potential support as another key entry point. Not necessarily a range yet because you only have 1, 2 confirmations. I need a third one to be certain I'm in a range. So when I saw this, I thought, okay, new high, first entry long, second entry long, potential triple test off this support. I thought this was a decent trade. So I got my trade order ready. I want to enter one tick above here. It's confirmed second entry long. It opens right down here. So a little bit kind of pretty much where it closed. It opened, it flashed down, and then I put in my entry because it looked like it was bouncing a little bit, and then it flashed, picked me up, got me my scalp. I moved my runner to 1 point, not 1 point, one tick above break even, hoping that I'd at least get a push back up to potentially this high, which at this point I'm thinking I'm in a trading range. But it takes me out, so I didn't really get a runner. And then it kind of moves back down. So it was just for a 1 point scalp for the majority of my position, which is fine because if I stayed for a little bit longer, I think I likely would have gotten stopped out on this candle. Prices then kind of move up. It pushes up, almost hits the top. And here it finally does. It makes one attempt up, pull back, second attempt up. So I would have survived if I kept my exit way, way below. Even if I kept it below this one tick below, I would have likely gotten stopped out here. So going for the 1 point scalp in this situation where it's very tight trading, I'm okay with. Kind of chops around. Looks like it's fitting well within this range. I'm thinking there's a fail breakout here, but then it looks like it pushes back and then pushes back upwards. So I drew this as a potential trend line support. It looks like it's obeying and respecting it pretty well. I wasn't 100% sure what kind of channel I had yet, so I put it up here. Prices then continue moving up. Now it's getting close to the pre-market highs, or where I thought the pre-market highs was. Technically, the absolute highs here, but I thought this is going to be where maybe some reaction or some kind of some kind of respect will be paid to this potential resistance. Flashes up, makes a double top. So I'm thinking it's a fail breakout. Prices could be pulled back in. It's also pushing up on this yellow up channel. Breaks out. So I'm thinking it's going to test this high, at least make 2 attempts. So the first attempt here, I think it's about to make the second attempt. So it's a new high, first entry long, second entry long. The second entry long, I didn't quite like it. The EMA is holding. It needs to be a little bit of a stronger signal bar because technically this signal bar for the second entry long is inside this one. So when I see this, I'm not ready to go for a long trade yet. I didn't draw this blue box as a potential trading range yet this early in the price action. So I saw this, I'm thinking, okay, EMA might be holding. I'm concerned that it might be running into this potential resistance up here. So this confirms the second entry long, but definitely I just didn't feel comfortable with this trade. I also saw this as a potential green down channel. So it didn't break below, so it breaks up once, and I'm thinking it could come back down to test. With the EMA coming up as a potential support, and it's getting squished by the top of the pre-market range, I'm a little confused. So I'm not 100% certain on my price action read right now. I'm not certain which way it's going to go, so I just decided to wait. It creates this higher low, confirmed higher low here, but here pushed down. I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's going to come back down and test the lows of here. It flashes up and now confirmed a higher low, but nothing at this time makes me think get a long trade ready because this isn't a very good signal bar. It needs to have been bullish. Ideally, if it flashed down and actually ticked above this guy, then I might have considered taking a trade. But again, I'm running into the concern that this could act as a true resistance because it had a fail breakout out here. By the time this candle forms, definitely the trade's too late. So it's just these two almost setups. They're not even almost setups because there are a couple things going against them. My almost setups, I consider them only when there's like one thing that prevented me from taking the trade. But there's a couple things here that prevented me from feeling comfortable taking these trades. Prices then continue moving. It looked like there's some kind of resistance up here. Flashes down. Technically, you have a new high here. First entry long, second entry long. Crushes down. So it could be a top of the range pushing down, but then you have overshoot here. Nothing feels particularly safe in my opinion right here. It starts breaking down below. And so I'm thinking at this point, okay, it hit the top of this pre-market trading range, whether you drew it here, you drew it higher up here, it is some kind of resistance here, this kind of cloud of resistance, and now it's pushing back down. Now I'm wondering if it's actually going to make it all the way down here to the pre-market low, or will it actually make it down to here where it's the regular trading hour lows, or even up here where it looked like there was some kind of support paid right there. Prices move down, creates a new low. It's a first entry short, second entry short. Technically, this is a third entry short, but I like to see it as like a kind of a localized low, even though this one is technically lower and you have another low here. I saw this as maybe a visual new low. First entry short pushes up very deliberately and pushes back down second entry short. I thought this might have been a possible trade. EMA is starting to come into play, acting as a rejection or as a resistance to reject prices. And as a break out of the yellow down channel, it made one attempt down. This could be the second attempt down to test this low. I also like that it ticked above this previous bar, and then it flushed down strongly. And not only did it flush down strongly, it closed below this previous bar. So I was thinking maybe there's enough momentum for a scalp before you hit the localized lows here. And it looked like the read was okay, decent. That's kind of what happened. I mean, you could have taken a second entry short here, first entry short, second entry short, but I just didn't quite trust it, and I wasn't quite aware of it yet. But if you did take it and put it one tick above here, you would have survived on this candle. But I thought this one might have been more of a safer entry, more deliberate push down, because this one's very decisive. And prices continue moving. It looks like it's moving down on this purple down channel, because I found this support first, and I drew the resistance kind of up here. I did have it a little tighter cutting through, but I didn't quite like when I had it lower parallel to this purple down channel cutting through too many of these bars. So I saw this as a new low. It's a first entry short, potential second entry short, excuse me, first entry short. Then you have a count reset here. So first entry short, potential second entry short, closed below the EMA. Thought this might have been also a possible trade. EMA is starting to continue to hold prices down. And then here's a confirmed second entry short. So this might have been a possible trade. I just wanted a slightly better signal bar. I might be asking for too much. It felt like the close was kind of toward the center, even though it's showing bearish characteristics. If it closed down here, I'm very sure, no doubt, I would have had a trade ready because it looked like it closed right, well, technically below the EMA, but right at the EMA. So if it had closed at the bottom, it would have been it would have sealed the deal for me to just jump on the trade. Of course, then when this candle forms, I feel like I'm too late because the scalp definitely has already been made. Prices then continue moving down, follows this purple down channel pretty well. I thought this might be a fail breakout and continue back down into here, but it starts moving up. So now I'm thinking it's kind of reversing its direction. Through this yellow up channel, it fits semi pretty well. It breaks out of this yellow up channel, kind of flows down this yellow orange down channel. So I thought it's one leg up, pull back. Now I'm wondering, is there one leg up, pull back, with a potential second leg up to touch the pre-market highs? Because at this point, it does seem like the range could be argued to be roughly right here. It's not very clean though, because it maybe on a larger time scale, it looks a little cleaner, but I was thinking, okay, instead of coming down to the pre-market lows, it might just be trading within this range here, the pre-market highs, and this potential low here. So it's about a 20-point range. Prices then break out, it chops around. You do have a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. I didn't really like the second entry short necessarily. It's even though the EMA is flattening out, it just feels a little hard for me to interpret. It feels like it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, so I just didn't really trust it. If the EMA actually was kind of cutting up above here, and even if it was flattening, if this was set up below the EMA, at least it would give me another justification to take this trade, go short, as opposed to sitting above a horizontal sideways EMA. Even though the EMA doesn't really matter at this point, when I'm taking kind of an ambiguous trade, if I want to take an ambiguous trade, I want as many things going for me as possible. And so that was one thing going against me going for a short. So definitely just, better to just sit out and say there is no setup than to kind of, I don't know, squint my eyes and come up with a reason why there is a setup. When prices move down, it kind of bounces off this potential support. I'm thinking I'm a trading range here. As a failed breakout here, double top starting to move prices back down. The new high is a first entry long pullback. Second entry long. Now the second entry long looks like it's about to fail because it's a really strong signal bar for the second entry long, but it looks like it's hitting some kind of resistance here. So I thought I was truly in a, not I, but the market really was in a trading range here. This is a potential trade, I thought, because it is the top of the range. It's a decent signal bar to go short. I just wasn't 100% sure yet. And excuse me, there was a break of this yellow channel, made one attempt up, technically a second attempt up. Now maybe it's potentially coming back down to test this low. But if I'm in a trading range, aside from this leg up, this could be the highs of the trading range with another pushback down, because this one made a lower high, lower low here. So it looks like it's starting to trend back down. So it looked like if you did enter short, it would have worked. Then prices in kind of chop sideways again. Also, I just want to point out what made me hesitate was this big green bar here that pretty much engulfed this previous one. So it was just a little too strong in one move. This one did have sellers coming in to push it back down, but seeing this in real time, it did make me hesitate because I just wasn't sure about the strength of this potential trading range acting as a resistance. Prices moved down, and now it's acting as a support here. This is a potential higher low here, so there might have been a trade here. Push up, and I did see this as, even if you're not trading a trading range, it is clearly at the highs again, and this is a very strong push down. On top of that, it has a second entry short setup going forward. So it's a first entry short, second entry short. This is a potential trade. I think this would have been probably worth a try. It is a larger candle though. This is your signal bar for the second entry short, but the trigger bar is so strong, so nice. It ticked above and then it flashed all the way down and engulfed it and closed very strongly bearish. So definitely enough momentum to think this is clearly a resistance. This is probably going to push back down to here, at least enough for a scalp. It looked like it would have, and it did make it all the way back down to the bottom. Then things get choppy, kind of pushes up, and it enters the last 30 minutes of the day where I'm more weary of taking trades. It kind of chops, flushes down, breaks below the trading range, tries to do a failed breakout, but it's a failed breakout pullback, and comes back in, and it just kind of moves into the close. So overall, it's an interesting day. Definitely a little more setups than it has been in the previous couple of days last week. So I don't know what was going on last week, but this week, well, today at least, it felt there was a few more setups that I could have jumped on. So this one was definitely a little more aggressive. This is a worthwhile trade, I believe, here. And this one probably was a worthwhile trade. This failed second entry long here with a decent setup. On top of that, it is on top of the trading range, at the top of the trading range, pushing down. So what did spook me was that big green candle. And then I think no, not this one. This one was probably worth a try here. And this one maybe was worth a try. And if not, definitely probably this one where it's a little more mature setup, more confirmed the prices are coming back down. So hopefully that was helpful.